What if you're not burned out because you're weak, but because you're walking in a calling that isn't yours? What if the fog you've been living in isn't confusion? It's a call to clarity. What if living with intention isn't about doing more? It's about becoming more aligned with who you were created to be. Every morning, millions of people in America wake up exhausted, not just from lack of sleep, but from living lives that feel disconnected, disoriented, and disjointed. They wake up to alarms, scroll through endless feeds, get pulled into reactive schedules, and end the day wondering what it all meant. Was anything they did really meaningful? Did it matter? The truth is, most people aren't lazy. They're not unmotivated. They're just starved of purpose. They're operating in survival mode, chasing after distractions, trying to find significance in busyness. But what they're truly craving isn't another productivity hack or life hack. It's divine clarity. It's direction from the source. It's permission to stop chasing and start aligning. You were never meant to live life on autopilot. You were designed to live with God-infused intention. But here's where it gets real. The word intention has been diluted. You've seen it on Pinterest, heard it in podcasts, read it in journals. Live with intention, they say. But what does that even mean when your calendar is overflowing, your phone is buzzing, and your soul is weary? It means going back to the blueprint, not the one you crafted based on societal standards or Instagram ideals, but the one your Creator designed before you were even born. Because if God formed you, then only He gets to define your purpose. Real intention starts at the feet of Jesus. It starts with asking God, what do you want my life to look like today? Not in 5 years, not after your next promotion, not after you get your act together. Today. It means waking up and praying before planning. It means letting go of what looks impressive in exchange for what is impactful. It means aligning your heart with heaven's pace, not hustle culture's grind, and it will feel countercultural, because it is. Culture tells you to do more, get more, be more. God tells you to rest in Him, trust His voice, and walk with purpose. When I started living like that, everything changed. I stopped filling my life with tasks that felt urgent but weren't essential. I began asking God not to bless my plan, but to reveal His. And what He showed me was simple but life-changing. Intention is not about overhauling your life overnight. It's about obedience in the small. It's in saying no to what's good, so you can say yes to what's God. It's in creating margin for prayer, not just more productivity. It's in recognizing that your calling isn't always a career. It's the character God is shaping in you through daily choices. So how do you start? With a question. God, what matters most today? That single prayer can reorient everything. Because when you stop asking how to do more and start asking what God has actually called you to, your days become lighter. Not easier, but freer. You move with clarity. You breathe deeper. You realize that every moment holds meaning when it's surrendered. You might be a mom, a teacher, an entrepreneur, a student, a creator, or a caregiver. No matter your role, your intention begins when your identity is anchored. Not in your title, but in your Savior. And that identity empowers you to walk away from things that aren't meant for you, to release the need for validation, to trust that hidden faithfulness matters more than public recognition. Living with intention in 2025 means resisting the constant noise of more. It means choosing slow over scroll, peace over pressure, purpose over popularity. It means showing up where God places you and trusting that the ordinary moments, changing a diaper, replying to an email, speaking kindness into chaos, are not wasted. They are worship. And when your life becomes worship, you stop striving. You stop performing. You stop chasing. Because you know you're already approved, already seen, already called. This doesn't mean you won't face pressure. It means your peace is no longer dependent on perfection. It's rooted in presence. The presence of God becomes your compass. His voice, your guide, His word, your foundation. And that foundation is what allows you to stay grounded when everything else feels unstable. When culture shifts, you remain steady. When others run faster, you stay aligned. When distractions scream, you lean into the whisper of God. This is the lifestyle of intention. It's slow, it's sacred, it's strong, and it's exactly what your soul has been craving. You don't need another app, another podcast, another influencer to tell you how to live your life. You need the one who formed your soul to lead you, step by step, and he will. But first he needs your yes, not to everything, but to the right things, to the assignments he designed for you, to the people he's placed around you, to the gifts he's entrusted to you. And it starts today, with your willingness to pause, to ask, to listen, and to walk intentionally, purposefully, faithfully into the life you were made for. Living with intention doesn't begin with a dramatic transformation. It begins with a whisper, a nudge, a quiet decision to ask a different question. God, what truly matters today? Not what's most urgent, not what others expect, but what is eternally significant in this moment, on this day, in this exact season. This is where calling becomes real, not in abstract dreams, but in concrete choices. We often believe our purpose will arrive like a lightning bolt, a single event, a perfect opportunity, a door swinging wide open. But for most people, especially in the American rhythm of hustle and hyperproductivity, purpose isn't revealed all at once. It's unearthed gradually through alignment and small obedience. Because the truth is, your calling isn't waiting in the distance. It's waiting in your present attention. When you begin your day with God's voice instead of the world's noise, your perspective changes. The job you thought was meaningless starts to feel like ministry. The errand becomes an opportunity. The struggle becomes the soil for growth. Every interaction, every task, every moment becomes a potential place of purpose. That's the power of intention. It transforms what you do by first reshaping how you see. You're no longer reacting to life, you're responding to God. This is crucial in our digital age, where distractions are endless and attention is currency. If we're not intentional, we'll spend our best energy on things that don't matter. We'll live fragmented, drained, exhausted, busy but aimless. But when you live with holy focus, even the ordinary becomes meaningful. It's the lunch you eat with your child and choose to put the phone away. It's the conversation with a coworker where you choose empathy over impatience. It's the business decision guided by conviction, not just profit. These aren't random moments, they're divine invitations. God's calling isn't always about what you do, it's about how and why you do it. And to live that out, you need boundaries. Intention without boundaries is just wishful thinking. Because in a culture of constant access, your time and energy are always under attack. If you don't decide what gets your yes, the world will decide for you. And often, that means giving yourself to things that dilute your calling rather than deepen it. So here's the invitation. Begin editing your life like someone who knows it matters. Say no to the meeting that isn't mission aligned. Say yes to rest even when hustle whispers lies. Protect your mornings. Guard your heart. Be ruthless with distractions and generous with presence. Jesus modeled this perfectly. He didn't do everything, but everything he did was intentional. He retreated to pray. He chose solitude over spectacle. He walked away from crowds when necessary. He lived with purpose, not pressure. That's our blueprint. To live in alignment with our God-given calling, we must prioritize peace over pace, and that starts with redefining success. Success is not a stacked schedule or viral post. Success is faithfulness. It's obedience. It's becoming more like Jesus in how you move through the world. So ask yourself, where am I feeling stretched thin because I'm striving instead of surrendering? What part of my life feels reactive instead of responsive? Where am I seeking applause that only leads to anxiety? These aren't easy questions, but they're essential ones. Because clarity comes when you begin to peel back what culture has layered onto your life and start listening for the simplicity of God's voice again. That voice doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It invites. It whispers in quiet moments when your soul slows down long enough to hear, "This is the way. Walk in it." And when you do, the confusion begins to clear. You stop trying to do everything and start doing the right things. You stop mimicking someone else's path and start trusting your own. You begin to build a life, not around convenience or conformity, but around calling. This is what it means to live with intention. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about aligning your energy, your attention, and your heart with heaven's direction for your life. And it's not reserved for the few. It's available to anyone who's willing to pause and ask the deeper question. Because once you ask, God, what matters most today? You'll begin to see your life shift in ways you couldn't have planned. Not just more productive, but more powerful. Not just successful, but significant. And isn't that what we really want? To know that how we're living actually matters, that our time isn't being wasted, that we're doing more than just surviving. That's the promise of intention. It leads you into alignment, it calls you into clarity, and it equips you for impact. All you have to do is begin. When you start to live with intention, something powerful begins to happen. You no longer need every detail figured out to move forward. You stop waiting for a lightning bolt moment of clarity and begin trusting that purpose is found in the present. That's the shift from dreaming to doing, from hoping to hearing, from wandering to walking with purpose. This shift is everything. It means you don't need to land your dream job to begin living your calling. It means you don't need to have the perfect plan to be powerfully used by God. It means that what you're doing right now, yes, right now, can be infused with divine significance when it's surrendered to Him. In a culture obsessed with platforms and performance, this can feel radical, because we're taught to chase visibility, to build personal brands, to stack accolades. But God's kingdom flips that script. He honors faithfulness in the unseen. He calls greatness out of the quiet. He builds legacy in the background long before it ever reaches a stage. That's why intention is so sacred. It pulls you out of the noise and roots you in the now. It reminds you that you don't need to be impressive. You need to be obedient. And that obedience doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it's choosing to show up in a job you don't love while God refines your character. Sometimes it's saying no to an opportunity that would elevate your name but compromise your peace. Sometimes it's pouring your heart into people, knowing they may never fully see or thank you. This is where your calling is refined, in the obedience that no one claps for, in the choices that feel small but shift eternity, in the prayer you whisper when the room is empty, in the love you give when no one's watching. These are the sacred places where intention meets eternity. And as you live this way, something begins to grow in you. Not anxiety, not hustle, but a quiet confidence, a rooted assurance that you are exactly where you need to be. You start to trust the process. You stop comparing your pace to someone else's progress. You stop asking, am I doing enough? And start asking, am I becoming who God called me to be? That question reframes everything. It helps you realize that calling is more about formation than performance. It's about who you are, not just what you do. And that's a massive relief. Because it means you don't need to prove anything. You just need to align everything. Your time, your decisions, your yes, your no. When those things are aligned with God's heart, your life becomes magnetic. Not because you're louder, but because you're living deeper. People notice, not your perfection, but your peace. Not your success, but your surrender. And they'll ask, how are you so sure? And you'll say, I'm not always sure, but I'm steady, because I know who I'm following. That kind of steadiness is rare, but it's what our world is desperate for. In a time when everything feels fast, performative, and filtered, your intentional, faithful life will speak louder than any viral moment ever could. And the good news? You don't need to chase moments. You're already in one, right here, right now. This moment matters, the breath you just took, the thought stirring in your heart. The desire to live with purpose, to align your life with something eternal. That's not random. It's the Spirit of God awakening you to the beauty of intention. And it's your invitation to keep going. To wake up tomorrow and ask again, God, what matters most today? To keep choosing peace over pressure, formation over performance, presence over pace. Because the truth is, your life was never meant to be a blur of busyness. It was meant to be a masterpiece of meaning. And God is still painting, still writing, still leading. You just have to keep walking. One intentional, faithful step at a time. The beauty of living with intention is that you no longer need to chase clarity. You begin to walk in it. You wake up not with dread, but with direction. Not asking what now, but declaring, I'm here for this. That doesn't mean every detail is figured out. It means your heart is postured toward obedience, and your spirit is tuned to God's whispers, not the world's demands. This posture changes your priorities. You stop filling your schedule just to feel accomplished. You start asking, does this align with my assignment? You begin to understand that busyness isn't the same as fruitfulness, and that impact doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things with your whole heart. Living intentionally redefines success. It's not about being the busiest, the most visible, or the most followed. It's about being faithful where God has placed you, with what He's placed in your hands. And when that becomes your aim, you feel lighter. You begin to see that so many of the burdens you've been carrying were never yours to hold. The pressure to please, to prove, to perform, it melts away in the presence of God's peace. And that peace becomes your compass. It leads you to say no without guilt. It gives you the courage to slow down when the world tells you to speed up. It anchors you when everything around you feels unstable. Because intention isn't just about your schedule, it's about your soul. And when your soul is settled, your life reflects that inner stillness. You speak slower, you love deeper, you listen longer, you live freer. The ripple effect of intention is powerful. Your peace starts to impact others. Your presence becomes a safe space. People feel seen, heard, and valued, not because you're doing more, but because you're fully present. This is rare, and it's deeply needed. In a society built on multitasking, constant notifications, and digital overload, the simple act of paying attention becomes revolutionary. When you live intentionally, you model a better way, a kingdom way. You show that it's possible to live with depth in a shallow world, to live with integrity in a performative culture, to live with purpose in a distracted generation. And that kind of life speaks louder than any platform. That's why calling isn't about being known. It's about being consistent. Consistent in character, consistent in kindness, consistent in choosing what matters most, even when no one sees it. Especially when no one sees it. Because that's where legacy is built. Not in the highlight reels, but in the hidden rooms. In the choices that don't trend. In the prayers that aren't posted. In the love that isn't broadcasted, but is deeply felt. God is building something in you that can't be rushed. He's forming a foundation that can withstand storms. And intention is the daily brick you lay in that foundation. So be faithful in the quiet, be bold in the small. Be intentional with what only you can give. Your obedience, your focus, your yes. And remember this, you don't have to do it all today. You just have to show up, present, willing, available. That's where calling begins, not when you arrive, but when you surrender. So keep showing up, keep paying attention, keep choosing what matters over what distracts. Because you're not just building a life, you're building a legacy. Legacy isn't created in one big moment. It's formed in thousands of small, intentional choices. Every time you choose alignment over approval, purpose over popularity, obedience over optics, you're building something that lasts. Something deeper than applause, something stronger than likes, something rooted in eternity. Living with intention shifts how you see your influence. You realize you don't need a title to lead. You don't need a spotlight to serve. You don't need a massive following to be faithful. Your impact begins where your feet are, not where you think your platform should be. And that truth is freeing, because it means you can stop waiting for the right time and start showing up right now. Right here, in the middle of your messy living room, your 9 to 5, your carpool line, your ordinary Thursday afternoon, purpose lives here too. The enemy of intention is distraction. And in today's world, distraction is everywhere. It's in the constant ping of your phone, the endless scroll, the fear of missing out, the anxiety of not measuring up. But when you live intentionally, you get off the hamster wheel. You stop comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's curated highlight reel. You stop performing for a world that will always demand more. And you start paying attention to the invitations God places right in front of you. Because here's what's true. God rarely shouts, He often whispers. And if we're too busy, too overwhelmed, too focused on the next thing, we'll miss the now thing. We'll miss the friend who needs a phone call, the moment of stillness that could restore our soul, the child who's asking for our attention, the opportunity to encourage someone who's barely holding on. These aren't interruptions, they're invitations. And when you accept them, you're living on mission. You're not just going through the motions, you're becoming the message. Your life becomes proof that it's possible to walk with peace in a chaotic world, that it's possible to live focused in a culture of noise, that it's possible to experience deep joy, not because life is perfect, but because it's aligned. And that alignment is what people notice. They may not have words for it, but they'll feel it. They'll feel the difference in how you listen, in how you love, in how you lead your life, not based on trends, but on truth. And that truth will draw them in, not to you, but to the source within you. That's what makes intention so powerful. It multiplies. Your small, faithful steps create ripple effects you may never fully see, but heaven sees it all. So don't minimize your obedience. Don't discredit your process. Don't dismiss your story. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do your thing, the one God has entrusted to you. That might mean showing up for your family with joy, starting the business God placed in your heart, leading your team with grace and vision, writing the book, mentoring the team, creating the art, taking the risk, not for validation, but from identity, from a deep understanding that you are already loved, already called, already chosen. And because of that, your intention isn't a performance, it's a response to grace, a response to truth, a response to the one who gave everything so you could live on purpose. And when you live like that, your life doesn't just make noise, it makes a difference. When you begin to live with that kind of difference-making clarity, something remarkable happens. You stop rushing through your days and start walking in step with eternity. You begin to see that every moment matters. Every decision echoes. Every act of faithfulness, no matter how small, is a building block in the life God is constructing through you. And the best part? You don't have to build it alone. God is not just watching your story unfold, He's actively writing it with you. He's the architect of your purpose, the sustainer of your strength, and the one who sees the big picture, even when all you can see is a few small steps ahead. That's why you can rest in the process. You don't need to force open doors. You don't have to manipulate outcomes. You don't have to chase what was never meant to be yours. Instead, you can stay faithful, stay present, and stay expectant, because God is never late, and He never wastes a moment. Every prayer you've prayed in silence, He's heard. Every time you chose obedience over comfort, He saw it. Every quiet sacrifice, every unseen act of love, it all matters in His kingdom. Living with intention in this noisy, hurried world is a radical act of trust. It says, I believe God's way is better. It says, I choose depth over speed. It says, I don't need to be famous. I want to be faithful. And that kind of life, it draws others in. People are watching not just what you say, but how you live. They're looking for authenticity, for hope, for evidence that a life aligned with God is not only possible, but powerful. And your life is that evidence. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present. Because you keep showing up. Because you've decided that the noise of the world will not drown out the whisper of God. So what now? Now you keep going. Keep making space to listen. Keep asking the question that realigns your heart every time. God, what matters most today? Keep saying yes to your unique assignment. Keep living on purpose, even when no one claps, even when the outcome isn't clear, even when it costs you something. Because the reward isn't found in what you achieve, it's found in who you become. And who you're becoming is someone the world desperately needs. Someone who reflects peace in chaos, truth in confusion, hope in uncertainty, and love that is not self-serving but self-giving. This is what it means to live with intention, not one day, but every day. Not when life slows down, but right here in the messy, beautiful now. So stay in the story, keep walking, keep trusting, keep showing up with your full heart and open hands, because your calling is not a distant dream, it's a daily decision. And this community, Think Fresh Daily, is here to walk with you every step of the way. Together, we're rewriting the narrative. We're choosing to live on purpose, to let go of hustle and hold on to hope, to trade burnout for bold faith, and to remind each other that we're not alone. So subscribe, come back for more, and let's keep living this out intentionally, faithfully, one fresh day at a time.